guys, welcome back to the Moaning Yorkshireman and welcome back to the Cruel Room, except we're not going to be cruel, we're going to be kind. We're going to kill them with kindness in this episode as I'm going to go through my 5 favourite drivers and 5 drivers I love on the current Formula 1 grid. So we've got a couple of rookies in there as well, so have a think about who you think they might be. There's only 3 of them in the sport, and one of them's a bit of a dick. So we're going to get into the 5 drivers I like, and be sure to check out Thursday's episode when that comes out. If you're watching in the past, then it'll already be out there. Get that watched as well, because I'll be discussing the 5 drivers I hate on the current grid as well. So it's spicy action on that one, but for this one it's just all about sharing the love. So the first driver on this list is Daniel Ricciardo. This is in no particular order, he's not my favourite. I've just got multitudes of favourite, and it's just I've mentioned Daniel Ricciardo first. Yeah, big love to Daniel Ricciardo. I really like his attitude. He's always happy, always smiling. Yeah, he went through the frustrations of Red Bull, particularly in 2018, and then he's gone to Renault. 2019 didn't work out so well, so he decided before the 2020 season even started, yeah, I'm going to jump to McLaren for 2021. 2020 Renault was looking strong towards the end, wasn't there? Some occasions were beating McLaren, but he's moved to McLaren now, the Mercedes engine in the back of it. We've seen winter testing from the McLaren Mercedes package once again in the Formula 1, which is great to hear and see, isn't it? McLaren Mercedes, it's iconic. So yeah, I think that they're going to do well this year, and I really hope Daniel Ricciardo does well alongside his new teammate, of course, Lando Norris. Lando Norris in his 3rd year needs to deliver, and I think he needs to get up to pace with Ricciardo, but ultimately I think Ricciardo's such a great guy. I think he's just going to be a more driving force forward, and I think we could see a win this year from him, and I really hope that's the case, because Daniel Ricciardo certainly deserves it. He went to Renault, for him it didn't work out, but I think personally speaking, maybe a couple of regrets leaving early, but nonetheless the McLaren-Mercedes partnership looks strong, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Daniel Ricciardo goes on. And like I said, hopefully it can get a win this year. I think it's going to take the Red Bulls and Mercedes trip up in front of each other, in front of McLaren, but I think they're going to be the 3rd fastest team, so anything can happen. But yeah, Daniel Ricciardo is my first on this list, that a driver I love. I've loved him ever since he was in HRT back in 2011. And yeah, just a nice all-round guy. So top bloke, Daniel Ricciardo. Then we're going to come to a surprise climber. It's like the official charts, this, isn't it? Up from the hatred list and into the love list. It's Sergio Perez. I absolutely hated Perez going into the start of the 2020 season, just based on what he'd done in previous years. I felt 2019 was an under-delivering year of him, but some impressive performances nonetheless. And then 2018, of course, he was a knob. He was taking out his teammate in Singapore, then taking out Sorokin and trying to just basically blame it on other people. So I felt the last couple of years from him were a bit naughty, and I just didn't really like him for it. I lost a lot of respect for him. But 2020 comes along, he's oofed out of a race seat he definitely deserved, because let's not forget he'd already put some impressive performances in that Racing Point before they announced Vettel. And then once they announced Vettel, it came alive. It was like a man on fire, wasn't it? It was incredible. He just roared up from the ashes of his former self, and we'd have seen him on the podium in Imola had they not messed up with the strategy at Racing Point. We'd have seen him in the podium at Bahrain had it not been for the engine failure with 3 laps to go. We saw him win at Sakir. We saw him score another multiple podiums in other places. I can't even remember. But just an absolute unbelievable end to the season that Sergio Perez has, and he fully deserved that Red Bull seat, and I think he's going to do really well. I think we've got to keep expectations fairly high. I think we've got to make high expectations for Perez at Red Bull, but I think we've got to keep them realistic, which is the key thing. At the end of the day, Red Bull's golden boy is Max Verstappen. We all know that. It's like Hamilton at Mercedes. You can try and deny it all you want, but it's happening. He's the number one. He's the golden boy. So is Max at Red Bull. They're both golden boys for their team. And ultimately, if they're in an opportunity to win the championship, Red Bull, in terms of the drivers' championship, that is, then they're going to favour Max. But I think it's going to be a really close fight between Mercedes and Red Bull for the overall Constructors' Championship. So I don't think they can start playing games with each other of letting drivers through when it's not right to do so, because they could lose out to Mercedes by playing silly games. So I think Perez has got to deliver, and he's got to deliver strongly from the word get-go to make it more difficult in later races for team orders to come into play, because obviously Red Bull ultimately want to fight for the Constructors' Championship. That's what they're there to do. So yeah, Perez, I think there's going to be wins on the way, there's going to be multiple podiums on the way, we're going to have a bit of rivalry between the Mercedes himself and of course Max Verstappen. I think there's going to be rivalries there. But fair rivalries, and finally so nice to see Perez get a chance at a top seat. I know he had McLaren back in 2013. But that was when McLaren were on the downturn. And what did they do? They blamed Perez, just like they blamed Magnussen the previous year, and then Van Dorn a couple of seasons later, because it was the problem with the new drivers as opposed to the actual drivers that you had in the cars already. That annoys me. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's finally a good chance to see him get to a top team that are looking strong from winter testing. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how Perez gets on. Then we come to one of the rookies. It's Yuki Sonoda. A massive big respect to Yuki Sonoda for what he did in the F2 season. I think he did a cracking job in his first season there. And overall, just an all-round nice guy, it seems. He's got very Takuma Sato-esque kind of vibes going on. Not as in terms of him just going to be ramming into the whole world, but in terms of his attitude and his approach and the way he speaks and the way he talks. Very calm, very polite, very softly spoken young lad. And I think it's great to see a Japanese driver back in the sport. And he thoroughly deserves that AlphaTauri seat. In terms of respect of what happened to Danny Kvyat, it was wrong to kick him out once again. But Kvyat must have expected that, because Helmut Marko didn't like him. They just didn't have any other driver to put in the car for the last couple of seasons. And at any given opportunity, Helmut was going to kick him out. So I think I don't agree with it, but Kvyat sort of had to expect that because they didn't like him. But that's not Yuki's fault at all, and I think Yuki Sonoda will be one to watch this year. I think he's going to be up there with Gasly, without a doubt. Not straight away. I think he's going to be strong at Bahrain, but that's due to the amount of testing we've had. So we might see a race where he goes really well and we think, oh God, he's going to be fantastic. But I'm expecting a little bit of lull for 2 or 3 races after, as he gets up to speed at newer circuits with less testing, of course, less practice times, only 1 hour sessions this time around, not an hour and a half. So, you know, he's lost running there for the new circuits that will be going to in the Formula 1 car. So bear that in mind. I think we're going to see a strong debut, a little bit of dip in performance for a couple of races, and then he's going to be right back up there matching Gasly. Overall, I think Gasly will beat him in terms of points and qualifying battles, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. So if Pierre Gasly is going to be P11 in qualifying, Sonoda's going to be there in P12. It's going to be matched. I think that's how close it's going to be. So fingers crossed. I hope it's a great season for him. It seems like a lovely lad, and I can't wait to be cheering the AlphaTauri team on. Then fourth on this list, I've already mentioned him, it's Pierre Gasly. We may as well do the AlphaTauri drivers together. An unbelievable season last year. Again, another driver rising from the ashes of getting kicked out of Red Bull and thrown out and binned off to the side. And AlphaTauri's only good enough for you now. That's all you're going to get. Not promoting him up to the Red Bull seat in 2021, of course, and sticking with him in AlphaTauri. I think will feel a bit of a kick in the teeth to Gasly, but he's too good. He's too good for Red Bull. He's clearly shown that now. They got it wrong with him, and they can't prove that they're wrong. It's as simple as that. He needed time to get up to speed in the Red Bull. He only had half a season, really, didn't he? Which is ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, yeah, Gasly, a rise to form. He took a maiden win last year, which was just unbelievable to see, wasn't it? And I honestly, I love that moment. I love that moment. That was a great moment. But he's had so many impressive performances as well. I personally think one of his best performances of last season was Belgium. Belgium 2020 was an absolutely cracking race. He started on the hard tyres, which was going to work, and he was doing an incredible pace on the hardest compound tyre. And then the safety car came out, and it threw his strategy all to cock because he had to pit, otherwise he'd lose out massive amounts of time when he eventually pitted. So he had to pit and go onto an alternate strategy, which wasn't right, and he still recovered to 8th place. I think that was a strong performance there. They do briefly touch on that one in Drive to Survive as well, but not into the details of him being on the wrong tyre compounds at the wrong time, etc. But yeah, Gasly, just a fantastic bloke, all-round good guy, deserves another solid season at AlphaTauri, so then he can be picked up by another team and poached, and then moved along, and off into the wings he goes and flies off to another team and does really well for someone else, and does a Carlos Sainz and pisses all over what Red Bull have done to him. So there you go, that's my thoughts on Pierre Gasly. A top guy, deserves the win, deserves a lot more points this year, deserves an impeccable season this year to get him into a top seat next year and out of the Red Bull programme. And then last but by no means least, it's Shah La. Absolutely fantastic lad. I love him. I got a little bit hatred towards him. I must be honest. There was a little times last year where I was getting a bit frustrated with him and how he was being on the radio and his general attitude and things. But ultimately, I think he's the driving force for Ferrari to go forward. He's got a new teammate in Carlos Sainz, of course. And I think that teammate partnership is going to do really well. But ultimately, I think Leclerc will do a better job this season around as Carlos familiarises himself with how Ferrari work, because a lot of drivers have said that it's a completely different kettle of fish when you get into Ferrari. So Carlos Sainz will have no doubts about that, and I'm sure it'll just take him again a couple of races to get up to speed with that new partnership. But ultimately, I think Leclerc's going to be the driving force. He's there for a long, long time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on. So there you go, guys. That were my 5 drivers I love in Formula 1. Of course, there's 5 drivers I hate coming on Thursday. Doesn't mean I don't like the other 10. So, but you know, it's a series that I do 5 and 5. That means there's 10 drivers that miss out. So it's better off that they're neutral than me in the hate one, I suppose. But other, of course, notable mentions are Esteban Ocon. I think he's a great guy. Carlos Sainz, I think he's a great guy too. George Russell, Lando Norris, great guys again. And Mick Schumacher as well. I think he's going to do well. So there you go. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to leave your thoughts and feedback down below. Who are your current 5 favourite drivers on the Formula 1 grid? And I'll see you all on Thursday for the 5 drivers I personally hate. That's the spicy one. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and much love.